How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Elvis Junction Reviews. Today we're looking at another product from Athearn. We're looking at an Athearn Genesis Integrated Grain and Milling GP7u, and this is 2161. As you can see, it has sound, Tsunami 2, LED lighting, and like I said earlier, it's an Athearn Genesis product. So let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and get it open. I hope everybody's having a good day today. My allergies are kicking in, so if I do sound a little more nasally than usual, I do apologize. So inside the box here, first of all, we have all of our writing and papers here. We have a Genesis limited warranty sheet that you can fill out in case your locomotive does get damaged. We have this paper here just kind of describes what the warranty, all like the features and all that, and also like the liabilities and all the legal jargon. We have our pop-up diagram or pop-out diagram of the locomotive here. So as you can see, we have all different types of GP7s, GP9s, like you can see the SP grip rebuilds, GP9Es, as well as GP7 Chicago Burn and Quincy, and GP9 Durango and Rio Grande right there. And finally, we have our Tsunami 2 diesel locomotive sound guide and operator's manual. So we will be using this throughout the sound demo of the video to help us with our functions. And right off the bat, you can see there's a paper on this clamshell. This is a delicate model. We recommend opening the packaging by setting it on a tabletop and carefully sliding the outer sleeve off while keeping the model upright. Then carefully open your inner clamshell packaging to access your model. And that's essentially what we're going to do. So let's pull it out of the protective foam here. If it would like to come out, it's a little uncooperative. And as you can see, there are these two pieces of foam that were in there as well. They were like in this part of the clamshell. Whoopsie daisies. Let's move these out of the way. Slide that blister package off. Take that off. Open up. There's our locomotive right there. And you can see it has two pieces of foam protecting the handrails from bending. Let's just go ahead and pull those off while we're at it. There we go. Looks like some of the handrails are popping off here. All right. So now we have the locomotive out of the box. Let us get into some history. And now onto some history. In 1949, EMD introduced the GP7. The basic design followed most diesel switchers with the addition of a short hood instead of an end cab. The hoods were full height to better accommodate the diesel engine, mechanical and electrical components. Now, Santa Fe was a big purchaser of GP7s. I'm not sure about how many they had, but in the 1970s, Santa Fe would create a program that was one of the most extensive rebuilding programs, and they would rebuild their GP7s into GP7Us. These units received brand new cabs, which were called Topeka cabs because they were built in Topeka, Kansas. And the units also had their dynamic brakes deactivated, if applicable, and received 4-stack exhaust and chopped noses. Now, many of the former ATSF units went on to work for industrial and shortline operators, like this locomotive here, which says Integrated Grain and Milling. Now, IGMX 2161 was built in May of 1951 as Adjacent Topeka and Santa Fe 2685. It served with the Santa Fe up until the very end when it was purchased by the IGMX and repainted into this scheme. Now, I was able to find 3 photos of this locomotive. One was in 2002, which is when which is what the model's based off of from the early 2000s. And then there are 2 other photos of it from 2022 of it sitting in this anti-graffiti cage, and it has ditch lights on the front. But in 2002, this locomotive did not have ditch lights. I'm not sure when it received ditch lights, but for the longest time, it did not have ditch lights. Now, this locomotive was found roughly in the Fresno area of California's Central Valley, running at grain mills and silos and all that, and switching out grain cars and all that with, say, the BNSF and Union Pacific. From what I'm aware of, it's been purchased by BugX, and it's still sitting somewhere in the Central Valley. All right, so now let us get into some details, starting with the front. All right, so now we're looking at the front of the locomotive, and we're going to go over the detail now. Start at the top, you can see a platform which this Sinclair antenna is sitting on top of. You'll get a better look at that when we look at the roof of the locomotive. You can see the horn right here, and here are the number boards. I'm not sure if they light up when the locomotive is in motion, but I do know that the headlight will. As you can see, we have 4 windows with also separately applied window wipers. I'm sorry, you can just see them because of the angle. There is a door to enter the cab from the front of the locomotive. If you focus on the nose here, you can just see it, but there is a sand filler hatch, and there is a grab iron right there. You can see the plated over class lights, one right here and one right there. We have 3 grab irons that lead from the top of the nose here down to the walkway. These are very, very bendy and very bendy handrails. There's one more grab iron right there. There's an EMU socket right there. Excuse me. Yeah, there's an EMU socket right there, electrical socket. We have our front handrail right here. I believe that is a ground light. No, I'm not really well versed in early generation 1 diesels, so please bear with me. We have our coupler cut bar right here. As you can see, it has white handles, and it runs the width of the locomotive. 3 MU cables on either side of the plow. Here's our coupler, and here is the air brake hose. All right, so now let's look at some rear detail. Looking at the rear of the locomotive, start at the top here, you can see a grab iron right there. You can't see it, but there is a sand filler hatch above the nose here. And then we have our rear headlight right here, which does operate when the locomotive is in motion. Here we have our little numbers, it's 2161 on either side. We have our grab irons that lead from the top of the body here down to the walkway. I believe that's another ground light right there. There is the handbrake, so you pull that up and it basically puts the puts the locomotive, it's a parking brake essentially. Here is our MU socket right here, which looks like it's about to fall off, so I might have to actually take points off for that, which is a bit of a shame. More handrails right here, and they also look slightly bent that way. We have our coupler cut bar again, which this is strange. There's a white, but that is not white at all, and that's not good. Here's our coupler again, 3 MU hoses on either side of the coupler. There's our air brake hose and the rock plow right there. All right, so now let's look at some side detail. Looking at the side of the locomotive, you can see the number right here, 2161, and as well as the windows into the cab. We have a sunshade roof right here, and here is our, there's no F actually to indicate this is the front of the locomotive, which is a little bit of a surprise. Usually they do. Here's our truck details. You can see the nice springs and also the brake shoes right there, which is very nice, as well as the brake cylinders right there. And we have our sand hoses right here on either side of the truck. Moving the locomotive forward, you can see the fuel tank right underneath here, as well as the air tanks for the air brakes. Up here, you can see integrated grain and milling, and you can see there is a dynamic brake fan area, but as you can see, they removed the dynamic brakes in favor of the exhaust being in the middle. And you can see a lot of nice vents here, as well as a separately applied windshield wiper right here as well. Moving the locomotive along again, you can see the truck detail as well right here, and some more grading, and you can actually see that grab iron that I mentioned earlier right there, and you can also see some lift rings as well. All right, so looking at the other side is pretty much the same. There's only one big difference I want to mention, and it is the speed indicator right here, or the odometer. Now this is a much better way of accurately telling the engineer what his speed is. It bases itself off of the rotation of the actual axle, as opposed to just it being a guess, as opposed to that. And you can actually see the horn a lot better right there. Moving the locomotive a little bit forward, you can see the fuel cap right here. So if you need to refuel the locomotive, that's where you do it right there. And if you're also wondering where the bell is, because you know it's not super accessible, but it is down here. And I will actually lift the locomotive up so you can actually see it. You can just see it there, but it's there. There it is. There's the bell. Right next, you can see it just above that screw. It's in a very hidden spot. All right, so now let's look at some roof detail. Looking at the roof of the locomotive, you can see the sand filler hatch that I mentioned earlier, as well as a grab iron. Here is the antenna right on top of this plate, which has been raised up above the roof of the cab. There's our horn. This is an air conditioning unit right here, because it does get very hot nowadays in the Central Valley. We have 3 exhaust fans right here, or cooling fans right here. We have 4 exhaust stacks right here. Remember, this is a GP7. Does not have the best of horsepower, but it still has enough horsepower to get the job done. And as you can see, this was the dynamic brake area, but no longer is. And then we have 2 more cooling fans right here, as well as that little grab iron and another sand filler hatch right there. All right, so now let's get into the sound demo of this video. Alrighty, so we have the locomotive up on the test track, and now we are going to put some power to the track here. Alright, so you heard the startup sequence there. So let's go ahead and turn on the main headlight, which is F0. There you can see it's kind of on. It's honestly not that bright, which is a little bit of a shame. Anyway, F1 is the bell. It sounds very nice indeed. F2 is a longhorn. F3 is a short horn. With the horn, it kind of sounds a little bit staticky, I guess is the word to say. F7 is a light dimmer, but also cab chatter, so listen closely. There you just heard a little bit of cab chatter there, so we have to do one more here. Alright, so throw her in reverse and get her moving. And now we'll bring her back. Alrighty, so now let's go ahead and throw her on the brake here. Let's turn off the main headlight, and now let's turn off the sound. And now let's get into my final thoughts. So for a slightly older model, it's actually not that bad. I mean, obviously I had a few issues, like the handrails kind of popping off, and then also some of the paint being a little funky, but otherwise it's still a very good looking model. And if you can still find a GP7u, I still recommend you get one. I got mine at yankeedabbler.com. I believe they have one more left in stock. I'm not quite sure, but I will leave a link to their website in the description down below. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Also subscribe if you have not, and hit the notification bell to see what I have to upload next. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.